Okay, well, I have another canner full of chicken broth stock that I made overnight. Finally got around to it. And it has been canned for the full 20 minutes for pints. And I've just turned the stove off, and it's slowly going to come down to temperature. So what I'm going to comment on here is how I try to avoid siphoning with things like chicken stock that have a little bit of grease in it. You can't always avoid siphoning. Sometimes it occurs, sometimes it doesn't. It can be, the headspace could be a factor in creating siphoning. The grease can be a factor in creating siphoning. But this is what I do, and I found it to be fairly successful. So you have to do what works for you and try a few different methods. Anyway, it's slowly coming down to temperature. I'll get back to you when it's down to 0. Okay, so I have turned off the heat, and the rocking motion has pretty much stopped, and the pressure gauge is starting to drop. So when that is down to 0, we'll get back to you. Now, I don't always go by the pressure gauge because they tend to be a little bit inaccurate as they get older, but there are a few ways of knowing whether or not the pressure is down to 0. First of all, the gauge itself will show you 0. Secondly, obviously the rocking motion is completely stopped, but that happens pretty much right away. Okay, as you can see, the gauge reads 0, but our little vent here is still raised up, so that means there's still a bit of pressure in the canner. So I'm going to wait till this actually drops on its own, and I'm using a spoon because I don't want to burn myself. But when that drops on its own, then I'm going to open the lid on this unit. Okay, the little vent is down in the down position, so I am going to open this now. And it is extremely hot even at this point, so I'm just going to get a pair of gloves on. And all that I do at this point is just crack it open and let it cool down gently. I don't take the lid right off. I can hear it all bubbling already. So I'm going to let that sit for 10 minutes and let it cool down gradually. Okay, it's been about 8 minutes now, and the popping has stopped. And I'm hoping it hasn't siphoned too badly. So I'm going to remove the lid and remove the jars. Now it'll continue to cool as I lift them out, and they will continue to bubble. And there's my timer going off. Okay. I don't want to disturb these too much. I know there's no such thing because there's a reason why. And hopefully all these will seal. Okay, at this point all I'm going to do is leave these on the counter to cool on their own time. Don't touch them. And yes, there's still the odd one that is bubbling up. Like you can see that one there had done that. This one here just did as well. Okay, here I have 2 herbs that I use in my household quite a bit. What is in the jar currently is some oregano that I pulled out of my garden, and I left it hung to dry. And after that, I rubbed it through my hands once it was dry to free the leaves up from the stems, and it's in the jar. Now, that is only a small amount, but I'm happy to have that. Fortunately, I do have some left over from last year as well. I prefer this oregano over anything else I've ever found before. And what I also have here is parsley. Now I do grow parsley, but I did not grow this parsley. I had actually purchased it by accident when I was looking for cilantro for my salsa, and I was not going to use it right away, so I thought I might as well dry it rather than let it go to waste. So I did put it on the dehydrator, took the stems off, put it through the dehydrator, and let it dry, and now I'm ready to jar that up as well. So with this job completed, then I will have 2 jars of fresh herbs that I can use that are from this year. And yes, you can buy these things in the store, and they're probably reasonably good. But I know then that these are this year's product and not 2 or 3 years old. So I'm quite happy to have those put away. Well, I did go back to my garden after that, and I was wondering if I could get one last garden harvest from them, and I was able to do that, mostly with peppers. Now, I knew that I had some small green peppers, but they're pretty small, and in the end, I did decide to pick them, but they are tiny, and I don't think that even if I left them for another week or so that they would grow much bigger, but you know, it's something. It's unfortunately very late in the season, and I mean that is a pretty tiny little pepper, if you ask me. But maybe we can get a little nibble out of 1 or 2 of them, and if Mark wants to use some fresh, I'll let him do that, and then I will just slice up the balance and put them in the freezer. Now, I was aware of the fact that I had a pretty good harvest of chili peppers, and normally what I would do with these is take the plant, cut the whole plant stem, and then hang them upside down to dry. Now, I have washed all these chili peppers, and I've decided that I am going to put them on the dehydrator trays. I have not yet determined whether or not I will dehydrate them or just let them air dry. But at this point, I'm just going to lay them out here. And, you know, they're supposed to be red, and I did pick them all green, so I'm hoping I can still get them to ripen. So I think that I will just likely just leave them to air dry and hopefully ripen as well. So hopefully I haven't spoiled these by picking them, but I don't think that there was much else to do. They were ready to be harvested, and I suspect that I can still use them green. These are hot little chili peppers, and I don't have much use for them personally. I did use, you know, 1 each in the bread and butter pickles that I made, and that's about as far as I'll go, as I might, you know, use 1 in some pickling recipe, but other than that, I do not use chili peppers. Now, Mark will also have them ground and put them on his spaghetti sauce. You know, since I don't like hot spaghetti sauce, it is fairly common though within our heritage to actually just have a jar of crushed chili peppers to add after the fact for someone who does want it a little bit hotter than anyone else. So that's pretty common. And yes, we have a little jar of chili peppers for Mark for when he wants to add some heat to a meal. So this will be hopefully a nice addition to it, as long as I can get them to dry properly and ripen properly, and I don't really see an issue with that. Once that's done,